To properly integrate OpenWrap SDK using Android, you need to configure a few settings. In this video, we will cover how to set up the required Android Studio project dependencies, integrate with the ad server and OpenWrap SDK, then finish the video by configuring permissions within the Android manifest file and network security. To complement this video, we recommend using the OpenWrap SDK integration guide for Android. The material covered in this video is documented there and will help answer questions that you might have. We've placed a link to the guide in the video description. This video will use project setup files for Google Ad Manager as the primary ad server. In the event you're using another ad server or not using an ad server at all, please check the integration guide for further documentation. Please note that the documentation will provide details in either Java or Kotlin. Let's begin by reviewing the required dependencies needed for our project. Currently, OpenWrap SDK supports Java and Kotlin in Android Studio. To begin, you will need to ensure you have your publisher and placement details ready. This includes the Publisher ID, OpenWrap Profile ID, OpenWrap Ad Unit ID, and the Ad Unit ID of your primary ad server. You can find definitions for these terms in our Ad Tech glossary in the PubMatic community. In addition to the glossary, we've provided a few PubMatic test profiles you can use during your integration. The profiles are located within the Android guide. Just be aware they should only be used during integration. When you have your details ready, log into the Publisher UI with your PubMatic account to create an OpenWrap profile. We will not cover this in the video. However, the provided documentation can help guide you. Next, you need to set up your primary ad service configuration to compete between winning bids from OpenWrap and bids available from direct sold ads from your primary ad server. For this to take place, you will need to set up a new order entry in your ad server to enable communication. You can find out how to add these entries within the OpenWrap SDK integration guide. Now that we have our dependency information, let us start integrating the primary ad server SDK. Before integrating OpenWrap SDK, we need to set up the primary ad server SDK. Let's switch over to Android Studio to see how this is done. First, we need to update the All Projects section of the project level build Gradle file with the Google repository. Next, we need to update the dependencies section in our app level build.gradle file with the Place Services implementation. For MoPub integrations, you will need to add additional MoPub activities in the Android manifest.xml file. You can reference the integration guide linked in the description for a complete code example. Finally, we need to identify the app as an Ad Manager application by adding the following metadata entry in the Android manifest.xml file. That's it for the primary ad server SDK. Let's now add the dependencies for OpenWrap SDK and GAM event handlers. To integrate OpenWrap SDK, we will be updating the Gradle and Android manifest.xml files. These files are the same project files used earlier in the video. For MoPub entries, please consult the integration guide for complete code snippets. Let's start out by adding PubMatic's Maven repository to the All Projects section in the project level build.gradle file like so. Next, we need to update the dependencies section in our app level build.gradle file once again to add the OpenWrap SDK and GAM event handlers. The OpenWrap event handler is important since it makes the ad server call using GAM SDK APIs. Now that you've satisfied the required dependencies, it's time to update permissions in your Android manifest.xml file. Android OpenWrap SDK requires only two mandatory permissions: Internet, which is required to access the Internet for ad content download, and Network State, which is required to access the network for ad request parameter settings. The following code snippet adds the necessary permissions to your app's Android manifest.xml file. By default, OpenWrap SDK uses secure ad calls and only delivers secure ads. In the event you plan to use non-secure ads, you need to ensure you opt out of clear text traffic, which would prevent your ads from showing. To help resolve this, you can include network security configurations that allows clear text traffic and HTTP ads. Let's enable this by adding a network security config.xml file in our resources directory. We need to update our security settings in the XML file to allow our non-secure traffic, like so. Finally, we will add a new entry in the application tag of our Android manifest.xml file to point to the new network security XML file. As mentioned before, we have provided a few sample apps you can use that will help with your integration. We highly recommend looking at these apps and feel free to use them as you start building your integrations. That's it. The OpenWrap and Primary Ad Server SDKs are now integrated within your project and ready to compile in your app. Check the Display Banner or Display Interstitial ad documentation in the OpenWrap SDK Integration Guide for details about adding ad formats to your app. Also, if you have questions, feel free to contact your account manager who can assist you. Thank you for choosing PubMatic.